Hey, it's the publisher here, Mr. Kelly Cole. Listen, if you are a former professional athlete, if you are a former college athlete or sports coach, and you're looking to launch your speaking career, let me tell you, you need a book. If you're already out there speaking and you want to track more high paid speaking engagements, you need a book. It's not about creating more content to post on social media. It's not about recording a bunch of videos. It's not about doing more podcasts. The number one secret to attracting more high paid speaking engagements or even launching your speaking career is a book. Hey, I'm the publisher, Mr. Kelly Cole, and I help former athletes and sports coaches create best-selling books in 30 days to launch their speaking career, even if they hate writing and don't know where to start. So for the first time ever, I've created a free case study video that will not only show you how to write a book from scratch in as little as 30 days and become a best-selling author, it will also show you how to attract more high-paid speaking engagements. Now, to check out this free case study video, click the link that says learn more or go to booksforathletes.com. Real quick before you go, do not go if you're not a former athlete or a sports coach, because you won't find any value in what I'm about to share. And don't go if your book is already out and already on Amazon. You won't find any value in what I share over there. But if you are a former athlete or sports coach, know that you need a book, or already out there speaking and you want to launch your speaking career, go check out that link now. Writing a book is not as hard as you think. It doesn't even matter if you don't know where to start. My case study video will show you how to start and get it done and onto the bestsellers list. So go now.
Welcome to the Books for Athletes podcast with your host, the publisher, Mr. Kelly Cole. Mr. Cole, a former athlete and best-selling author himself, has set out to take you behind the scenes of some of sports' forgotten heroes. He sits down with former professional athletes, college athletes, and sports coaches as they share stories of triumph, defeat, dedication, and perseverance. Here's Kelly.
What's up? It's the publisher here, Mr. Kelly Cole. Welcome to another episode of the Books for Athletes podcast. Today, I got a special guest, my friend, Mr. Neal, 199 guy. Neal, how you doing, sir?
Hey, I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be with you, to be with your audience, and be a part of your book collection. Never Too Late is a book that, for me, was a lifetime, So, Kelly, in all due respect, I'm just so happy to and grateful to be with you and be able to tell the audience about how you can reimagine your lifestyle.
That's good. Good stuff. So tell the people real quick a little bit about your background before we get into talking about your book, Never Too Late.
Thank you. So, early in my life, like you were an athlete, right? Mm-hmm. Right. You're from Chicago, you root for your Chicago teams. I don't have my hat on today, but I did wear my Miami shirt. We are number 8 in the country in college football. But in all due respect, I realized I wasn't going to be an athlete. So I started doing public PA announcing. I started, writing articles. I started getting involved in statistics and doing stats for the networks. I started networking, and that led to me getting my first gig. Initially, I did my internship for my master's at ABA USA, Olympic basketball, as it's now called, in Colorado Springs. I met my wife, Laura. I call her my gold medal. Over 40 years ago, we were at the Olympic Training Center, so that's what I walked away with. But listen, early in my life, Kelly, to answer your question, I realized I wasn't going to be a student athlete. I was going to be a support person for student athletes, a support person for professional athletes, and later helping them with their fundraising, some of the biggest professional names. So I worked at ABA USA. I said that it led to me working my first job in the old USFL. I promoted Jim Kelly, the Hall of Fame quarterback, the old Houston Gamblers, in the Astrodome. And then, that league went away. Okay. And I needed to pursue an opportunity. I was in New Jersey. our 45th president of the United States, he talked about building a dome in New Jersey, right? And, that was his dream, where Arthur Ashe Stadium is now. And it didn't come together. That's fine. I ended up going back to my University of Cincinnati. I was a student manager, Kelly, cleaning uniforms. That's how I earned my college scholarship. But I came back as assistant athletic director. I had this passion for marketing and sales and what we were going to do to add value. What was people's why and what was people's what? And ultimately, what it came down to is we started doing corporate packages. And that led me to go work with one of my bosses, Carl Meyer, great guy, gave me the opportunity. He went from Cincinnati to Miami. I then find myself as a national champion working for, the University of Miami in football and baseball. We're winning national championships. And then it led to me getting a great gig with a startup then called the Florida Marlins. And that was a great thing. We won a couple world championships. But, then I was the vice president of the Miami Heat. So in transition, I was able to put a lot of time into my job. I was a prisoner of my job. Okay. And you know what, Kelly? It was putting pounds on me. I didn't have that foundation. I would tell people fan food, which what fans love to go eat at the stadium, right? Hot dogs, pizza. It's not fuel food for me. And it wasn't a positive thing. So I found myself here at over 400 pounds. And like I said, I was 1 foot in the grave. I wasn't living, I really wasn't living. And ultimately, I got engaged with a support group, Orange Theory Fitness. And that led to, me finding a community that loved me and supported me. And then I woke up one day and I had this pivot point. Okay, we all have a pivot point, right? You made a decision to be a book publisher, right? Yeah. Something went off in head. The Lord told you something like the Lord told me something. Well, the Lord spoke to me through a 3-year-old kid. And he said, I was wearing a 5X red top. And he said, are you Santa Claus? Wow. And I said, ho, ho, ho. My first reaction wasn't PG-13, right? And then I said, I need to find out about nutrition. So this formula that I tell people in my book, Never Too Late, which we'll talk about a little later, is 80% nutrition, 20% in exercise. So Kelly, I was in a space where I had a chance. And goodness gracious, won't you know that I had a miracle happen to me. I lost over 199 pounds in like 16 months. That is a miracle. Nobody out there listening can believe those kind of things happen. I didn't have surgery. I didn't do anything other than show up at Orange Theory and do my thing and learn nutrition. And I did. And you know what? August 2nd, 2016, the Lord said, you know what? You did a good job. We want you around. I had sudden cardiac death. I died. So I'm like, wow. So I put 2 stents in. My doctor, Dr. Deeb did. And 9 days later, I was back in the gym. Wow. And then I started running. I've actually done 35 races. I talk about finish lines, not finish times. And I did 35 races, 17 half marathons. Dude, I couldn't walk around the block in 2013. Wow. And now, 10 years later almost, I've done almost 2,700 Orange Theory classes. So I show up. I'm consistent. That's a big message. I got motivated. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I realized what it needed to happen to be accountable. And then for the first 7 or 8 years after that, I became sustainable. But you know what? Things happen in life. Guess what? I got cancer. All of a sudden, I'm battling prostate cancer. And for the last 18 months, it has been challenging. I had to take a shot. Oh, here's the 199 guy. All of a sudden, I gained 50 pounds because of this hormonal shot. But guess what? Cancer has taken a lot of lives. We're here together. I'm grateful. So there you go. A story of basically overcoming adversity, getting motivated, becoming accountable, and then becoming sustainable. Because you know what? Even today, at almost 67 years young, I look at things with, the positives. I look at what God has basically graced us with. He had a plan for me. Okay. It wasn't too hard. And at the end of the day, okay, I woke up and said, I'm going to follow that plan. And that's what I did.
That's good. That's good. For the person who is, like you said, they're stuck. They may not be 450 pounds. They may be 350 or they may be 250. For that person who's struggling, what would you say the first step is into changing their life so they can begin to get results?
Well, create a positive mindset. That's a big step. I had a high school football coach, like I'm sure you did. He's still alive in his 80s. He put out a book once called Miltiades is his name. And I was in New Jersey when I met him. And he talks about having a positive mindset. So the first thing I would say is put yourself in a positive mind that you can do it. You know, in my book, I talk a lot about can and can't words. You know, think about it. It's not too expensive. This is an investment in you. You know, for the ladies out there that are thinking, well, I need babysitters. I have kids. Well, that's why they have babysitters or daycare or whatever it may be, you know. So you find a way to get that out. But the first thing I tell people when they say, I want to go on a diet, say, forget that word. I'm going to be a little like Matumbo. Forget that word. Diet is not what this is. This is a lifestyle transformation. That's what I did. Listen, I may have gained weight and I've taken like 20 off since this process of, coming back from cancer. But my cholesterol is 99. My tris in my lipid panel are 40. And where I was almost 20 in my PSA is now 0.16. To me, the inside numbers don't necessarily match me currently. Yeah. But if you look at my book and you laid it out, it shows the journey. So pick a start, get your right mindset, and then put yourself in a position, surround yourself by a support group. You can't do it by yourself. And get somebody around you to motivate. And you know what? Don't go on a diet. If you ate 3 slices of pizza, now you eat 2. And as you start to get into your exercise routine and you discover things like I did with running, half marathons, those aren't easy. You don't just show up and run 13.1 miles, right? And I actually, celebrating my heart attack with my running coach, Lisa Pizzoni, I ended up running a marathon from where I had the heart attack in South Chandler, Arizona, where I live, okay, to the Children's Museum at the American Heart Association.
Yo, what up? It's your girl, JC. And listen, I have to send a special shout out to my guy, Mr. Kelly Cole, and the entire team at Publishing Advantage Group and Books for Athletes. They took so great care of me to the point that I know I'm the pickiest person. This book was supposed to have been finished last summer. However, there were some details that I needed to make sure that the book had because my audience needed it. And, when it comes down to feeding and serving the people, especially as a former athlete and telling your story, you cannot be selfish with the material and give it away. And they worked with me from the time of my thought process to the time of conception, all the way down to now, top 20 hot release best-selling author on Amazon in 24 hours. Listen, if you're an athlete, you have a story to tell, and you don't know how to put it in book form just yet, don't worry, you're not alone, okay? Hit my guy, Mr. Kelly Cole, and tell him what you're trying to do, and I promise you he gonna get you right, all right? And of course, check me out on Amazon after the season. Shout out to the Books for Athletes family.
Because I wanted people to know that it's never too late to reimagine your lifestyle, to fix yourself like I did, and put yourself in a position because you never know what's in your body, whether it's a heart attack. God rest his soul. Pete Rose passes away this week, right? I went to school in Cincinnati. I idolized a lot of the Cincinnati Reds, just like I'm sure you idolize some of the Chicago, sports athletes in your town. And you grow up and you say, how does a guy like that at 83 years young die of cardiac arrest? Okay. Could something he did, could it prepared him so he could have lived to 93? You don't know. But at the end of the day, in my particular case, when I had that sudden cardiac death, which is the widowmaker, for those that don't know, I died. I stopped breathing. I had just done a TV interview, Kelly. And I ended up putting myself in a position where they rolled me over and I stopped breathing. And then I came to. Think about this. Less than 50% of the people come out of sudden cardiac death. Less than 10% come out on their own. I did both. So us being here together today, me writing the book through your guidance, put me in a space where he didn't want me to leave because he wanted others to realize that you can go from the couch to the concrete, in running. You can, and it doesn't matter. You said it best. Hey, there may be somebody out there that says, this sounds hard.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't have 199 pounds to lose. Well, guess what? Maybe you have 10, 20, 30. Listen, I can relate to that now, that miracle that was given to me in 2015, 2016. That's one thing. Now I'm like a regular person and I'm dealing with things and I count my macros. I do different things, that we can talk about. But more importantly, and that's what the book is for. The book will walk you through, actually, Kelly, in what you designed, and we did, the 14th chapter talks about 99 secrets. I'm the 199 guy, so I like nines, right? In fact, you launched my book on September 9th, dude. That was great. Good job. Nine. Everything's nines, man. So ultimately, it's a real positive. It's a real positive when somebody says to themselves, I want to do something about it. And positive mindset, people around you, find a plan, and there you go.
What's a simple plan that they can follow? Like just getting started. What's a simple plan?
Well, again, in the beginning, I have a lot of friends that call me and ask me that question. And I say, look at what you're eating right now. How can you cut back? And if you don't mind, I'm going to tell you one quick story that kind of puts that in perspective. So I used to go in St. Louis, where I was living. I was working at SLU as a senior associate athletic director and under my buddy Chris May. And big picture is that I was, my son Justin, who's now in the doctorate program at NYU, very proud of that. He ended up working at Jet's Pizza. And I used to go there and I would have 2 slices of pizza. And then I would try to sneak a third one. And in my book, there's actually a chapter, I call it hearing versus listening. Because I heard people, but I didn't listen, right? And Justin walks out with a salad and he says, Dad, I think it's time for a salad. and you know what? I took that as a pivot point, and we all have our own pivot points. I told you the story about the 3-year-old, asking me if I was Santa Claus. But what Justin did was a year or so before that, and I started walking every day, Kelly, around the track. And then I realized if I didn't have nutrition, I wasn't going to go there. So then, to answer your question, you basically go and I'm not a doctor, okay? I'm not going to sit here and say, this plan is going to work. But I can tell you what I did. I basically went to MyFitnessPal. I still use it almost 10 years later. And I started counting my macros. So in my particular case, I didn't even understand. In fact, I say this about people in my book about how do you start? Go into the supermarket and start looking at the labels. Like I have this own shake that I take after my workouts. It's got 20 grams of protein and 10 of carbs. It's 180 calories. And it tastes good, too, by the way. Margaret, my nutritionist at Mayo, she turned me on to it. Because, that's where I went for my cancer treatments. And I have a whole group of great doctors that have helped me through this last 18 months. But it starts also with the people out there listening to go to the supermarket and start to look at labels and see what you're putting in your body. Realize that some of these manufactured, processed, whatever you want to call it, foods aren't necessarily going to be positive for your waistline, aren't going to necessarily be positive for something that may get affected, based on your hereditary issues with your family. My heart attack, was a hereditary issue, and I was able to survive that. And I now take certain meds, and I also, like I said, watch my numbers. So it starts with their mindset. It continues with going to the supermarket. It's a support group around you, and keep moving, keep showing up, be consistent. I say that, show up and do the work. Show up and do the work.
What are macros? You mentioned that a couple of times. What are my macros? Am I saying it correctly?
Yeah, or your nutrients. So basically in a day, in fact, where I was looking here, I know this, I did this yesterday. I actually had a scenario. Oh, here it is. So yesterday on MyFitnessPal, I don't know if the audience will be able to see this 100%, but this is an example of a breakdown where I'm working my way back based on the numbers that I deal with. So what that means is you have a certain number of calories that you may eat in a day. In order to lose a pound, it's 3,500 calories. Okay. Now you're not going to lose more than a pound or two a week in a normal situation. And maybe some will only do a pound, but you're making progress and your body is responding to that progress. How do you do that? Based on what you just asked me. Carbohydrates are like when you eat pasta, that has carbohydrates. Vegetables, eat a lot of vegetables, they have a lot of carbohydrates. Proteins are like chicken, or like I had for lunch a little while ago after my Orange 30 workout, a salmon fillet, or some type of grass-fed beef type situation. You can get that in Costco, which is where I shop. And then, with your fats, you can have like walnuts, you can have, so you're basically, the nutrients, the macros, Kelly, are basically your proteins, which are mainly, like I said, some of your chicken, your fish, that type of thing, grass-fed scenario. And then you're also dealing with carbohydrates, which, when you put a bag of chips in, it's interesting. I tell this story about, going back to one of your questions. We all have a wellness clock. Maybe you have heard this. I talk about this in my book. In a wellness clock, I basically grew up and my mother would say, Neal, eat everything on your plate. Did your mom do that?
Yep.
Hello, right?
Everything. Yep.
Yeah. And oh, by the way, don't forget to put your napkin on your lap. Okay. So that was my mother, Judy. God love her. Okay. So then as we grew up, we might have played some type of youth sports, 5, 6, 7 years old, right? And your parents were all excited, right? They got to bring the snacks that day. And what happened? They would bring a sugar-based drink and some type of candy bar or cookie or something along those lines. And then you were an athlete in high school, right?
Right.
Okay. After you had a road win, where would your coach take you to celebrate? Mickey D's or Burger King, right?
Right.
Or someplace else, but unhealthy, right?
Right.
And then if you played in college, you had, not today, but back in the day, at least a lot of us in our generation, we're in that foundation of you can eat whatever you want. It was a smorgasbord, right? That to me was a formula for failure.
Yeah.
And that's what I had. I basically didn't understand reading labels. I didn't understand, as you asked a great question, macros. What is the macro? It's like, how do you think through your numbers? And for months during my cancer treatments, I battled and I added higher carbs over protein, and I gained weight, but I had to be cancer, right? I had to live here. I had to show up.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Tyler Campbell, and I am the author of The Ball Came Out, Life on the Other Side of the Field, brought to you by none other than the Publishing Advantage Group, Kelly Cole, and the entire team. Let me tell y'all something about them. Listen, they are there to help you. They really want to see you win. They want to help you get that message out. And collectively, as a team, you never feel like you're alone. There's no such thing as a bad question. They know the industry so well that they help you convey the message that will feed the masses of individuals that you come across. My book is #2 new release book on Amazon already, and it's already an Amazon bestseller. All right, hadn't even been a full week yet. All right, these individuals know what they know about the industry, and they share it with you, right? And they only want to see you win. You're handled with care. Make your book a bestseller today, and go with the Publishing Advantage Group. They want nothing but the best for you.
So, you know, your wellness clock is ticking. My wellness clock was ticking, and I was able to live right now an extra 9 years from my heart attack.
Praise God, man. So why did you write the book, Never Too Late?
Because you told me to.
Besides
you kept
that,
telling me, dude, you put these great commercials out on Instagram for those out there listening that don't know the publisher, Kelly Cole. This guy, he lives in the Russell Brunson world, right? Am I right?
yep.
You know, and he creates these videos and he says, let me tell you how you can write a book in 30 days. Let me tell you how you get started. Let me tell you how you can go without a pen, pen name. Let me tell you how important it could be, not only for you and your family, but for others. Because that story is going to give you 14 different, do I read your stuff or what? 14 different ways to generate an income.
Right.
And you got to look at it as an investment in yourself. So I wrote this book because you told me to, and because, quite frankly, I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to help people realize that it's never too late to find their best version of themselves, the happiest and healthiest version of themselves, one day at a time.
That's good. That's good, man. So when a person picks up this book, what is the #1 thing you want them to get from reading your book?
Well, first, can I just say what I don't want them to think? This is not a weight loss book. Okay. This is not about how much are you going to lose. It's not, like you probably heard this in your saying. I have this thing that I developed that will help me answer that question. And Alex Vergara is my strategist. He actually got me, Kelly, like you talk about developing an outline, in the beginning. So I said this morning in our promo. This is a book he gave me, and he says, I want you to think about, I'm going to give you a word, and I'm going to give you the word, and I want you to write about it. So like the first word was, who do you see in the mirror? And one of my chapters is, you were Rembrandt the painter. What would you paint of yourself today? And what would you want to be in the future? Then I saw this great speaker, Rick, Kelly, you know who he is. He calls himself a black cowboy, that Rick, I can't think of his name, but he does a commencement speech and he talks about his dad. And it's similar to my dad. And he says, who's the wisest person in your family? And it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody with a degree. So you don't have to have a degree, in nutrition to figure this out. Okay. You just have to find what you're comfortable with. How does it make you feel? So that was that. Then find your why or your pivot point. Again, these are all things that Alex had me write down before I actually organized my book. So, and if you think about it, my son at Jet Pizza and the 3-year-old asked me if I was Santa Claus. So that came in. Eating to live versus a diet. So are you eating to live? Are you living to eat?
Right.
That's, again, a chapter in the book. All right. Transformation versus change. I know we all sometimes say, have you made that change? Right. And in my particular case, yeah, I mean, you could say that. But what my good friend Bob Bodine helped me realize, who wrote the book, The Power of Who, is he helped me realize about reimagining a lifestyle. And Kelly, I don't know if I shared this earlier, but I didn't share this earlier, but I'm going to say it now, is that I went to a talk. We all gone to a talk where we see, oh, I really want to be that person, right? I mean, look at the people in the back, Earl Campbell, Derek Wittenberg, Haley, all those different people in the background that you've done books for. Okay. Think about those people and understand, don't you think that in Tyler, Texas, which is known for roses, that Earl Campbell had somebody come to his school and motivate him? You don't think Jim Valvano motivated Derek Wittenberg?
Yeah.
Of course they did. Okay. Mm-hmm. So in my particular case, I was in a situation where I woke up one day and I went to this talk that Bob Odin did, from his book, The Power of Who. And one thing led to another. And I bought his book. And I put it in my car for 2 years. And it talked about being healthy. But I wasn't ready to do it. You have to be ready. That's another important part of this. You got to be ready. So I end up, one day waking up, and he sends me over to meet. I just moved to Arizona in 2015, and I went and met the athletic director, who's a great guy at the time, at Grand Canyon. And Mike he looks the part. He's good at what he does. And guess what? So am I. But I didn't look the part. So I picked up the phone. I called Bob Bodine up and I said, I'm going to lose 199 pounds and you're going to be my agent, right? And sure enough, I talked about this in our book. And a couple years later, I told you, a pretty short time, under 2 years, I drove to his country club outside of Dallas. And I said, no, you're not going to necessarily be my agent, but I want you to see what I look like. And he had written a second book talking about the Lord and talking to God every day called Two Chairs, right? And he had 2 chairs on his ragtop car as he's pulling away. I'm in my rental car, and because I'd been in Texas for a wedding, a family wedding, and I went and drove to see him. I came home, and guess what I did? I got a license plate that said 199 guy.
Wow.
Right? So I'm always finding little things to get motivated, but keep moving this along. Weight loss, winning versus winning back your life. Some people may look at that conversation, say that's there. I said this earlier, hearing versus listening.
Yeah.
If you're comfortable with yourself, great. And are you going to have journey setbacks? Again, these are all things. In 2019, I was doing a workout called Dry Try. This was a big deal. I'm showing this for a reason. I recently did another Dry Try, but in 2019, I skimmed my shin on a bench during the competition, and make a long story short, I almost had to have my leg cut off.
Wow.
Right? So I got it stitched up. I worked my way back, and I remember the first time I went and did a Dry Try, I was scared. I feared it. And I put these volleyball pads on my shins because I figured that, God made people for some things and maybe not for me, right? When it comes to those type of injuries. And I overcame it. And, here I am after cancer. I did it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm proud of these little accomplishments, but I say them not so much about me, but about we. What can we do, Kelly and I, from this podcast, from this book, Never Too Late? How can we take Never Too Late and make a difference? How can we take what's in this book and make a difference for somebody else? And I really believe, I'm confident that we can create a chain reaction of inspiration for others through lifestyle transformation. And that's what this is.
Hey, what's going on, man? It's Dennis Haley. I am the author of the playbook, The Art of Dreaming. Just want to say a special thank you to Kelly Cole and the Publishing Advantage Group team. Man, they were with me from day one until the time I finished, and still with me to this day. What a blessing to have them be with me and to walk me through this journey and to be a part of this journey. They have been nothing but class acts, and they know what they're talking about. And just again, it is a blessing to be a part of this team and for them to guide me down the path to success. So thank you for everything that you have done. I look forward to many more projects with you guys and continue to be a blessing to many. Thank you.
That's awesome, Neal. So you said it's not a weight loss book. It is a book about what?
Self-help.
Self-help, your journey, your inspiration, like all of the things you've overcome. And like you said, recently beating cancer. Neal, what keeps you going? Like what keeps you going in the face of adversity?
Um, Adversity creates opportunities. And that's the way I look at this. First of all, I love my family.
Yeah.
Now, again, in my book, I talk about something Kelly called CEO cornerstones. You are an amazing father. Okay. I'm just going to say that to the audience. Okay. I watched you with your family and what you do for your son. You were just in Dallas, promoting what he's doing and, your dog. Amazing. Okay. In the beginning, Kelly, think about what the CEO cornerstones are. There's 4 parts. First, you're the CEO of your life. You're in charge of your life. You're in your 20s, you're coming out, some of you are student athletes. Some of you are not. Some of you got married right out of high school. You owned a house, you had a job, you had kids, you have things that come up. So you're the CEO of your life.
Yeah.
Then you get your first job. You remember your first job?
Yep.
Right? What did you do? You got involved in the community. So you're the CEO of your community because you realize that helps you get better. That was me. I was so engaged. I was a prisoner of my job, prisoner of my community. I didn't think about Neal. Okay. And that's what so many people do. Finally, as you get down in life, have you ever read the book Alchemist?
No.
Okay. Interesting book. And it taught me 2 words that I'd never heard before. Personal legend. I'll say it one more time. Personal legend. Okay. So in the beginning, you're so focused on being, finding your personal legend. And the CEO cornerstone in this case is you're the CEO of your legacy. Why? Because you realize it isn't so much about you, it's about you helping others find theirs.
Yeah.
Their personal legend. And then finally, like I'm in a space, what motivates me, what keeps me going? I'm the CEO of my family. I have this dear friend, Charles Curran, who just bought my book. I'm appreciative of that. And he woke up one day and he decided he was going to run half marathons like his buddy Neal. Okay. And he ran some other ones. And then he had a hip ailment and he found a way through the elliptical recently to run a half marathon. So I do it because I love Kelly Cole. I love Charles Curran. I love Justin Bendesky. I love my other son, Logan Bendesky, who is in Paris right now studying in graduate school for the fragrances. And of course, I love my wife. So these situations are necessary. I have to stay here. Believe me. Recently I got rear-ended by a drunk driver.
Wow.
It was crazy, and like my coach from Orange Theory and my studio manager, Brittany, who's awesome. She says to me, how do you keep so positive? Right. And I said, what's the alternative? I mean, to me, I've learned in our me society, I may be a robust speaker. I am. But if you tell me out there, along with this book, you want me to speak to your group about a certain thing, I'll jam it and I'll hit it exactly on every point that you want. But this book is a good read for those trying to develop a foundation for their own self-help. From the CEO cornerstones to what I didn't even talk about, the 199 Guy lifestyle platform, where the letters of lifestyle spell the success of your journey. I'll let you read the book to figure that out. But the last one ends in E. It's a double whammy. 20% is exercise and 80% is eat right. And I'll let you figure out the rest, but it's in the book. These are the things that will help you get better and realize that it is never too late for me, for you, for anybody. And look, people look at me and say, well, I look at this book, and you and I went back and forth in this, and I'm very thankful that I did a lot of this in color. Okay. And, there was, I don't know what our timing is, but I have a lot of nice people that wrote things, but there's a very iconic sports executive, Kelly. His name is Andy Dolich. Okay. And he happens to be a really good wordsmith. And again, this is in my book. And I say this because this is our purpose. Okay. I have a friend named Neal. He was living life for a worm's meal. To say at one time he was fat would be a massive understatement of that. He spent most of his life in a land called Over-8. He once weighed at 450. Why his heart stopped beating at a regular rate, he decided to change his life swiftly. Here was a guy working in sports. On most days, he couldn't even put on his shorts. His life turned around when he lost 261. These days, you will find him always on the run. He shares his story with many others. The 199 guy is building a band of healthy brothers and sisters. That's why I wrote this book, Kelly.
That's awesome. Appreciate you reading that. All right. So a couple more questions. First question is, what was it like working with Books for Athletes? You touched on it. And what would you say to someone that's on the fence about working with us? First, what was it like working with us? And what would you say to somebody that's on the fence about working with us?
Efficient, professional, classy, educated, fair. Will tell you not what you always want to hear, but what is best in a situation based on experience. So you're talking to the publisher. I'm talking to the publisher right now, who is experienced in that. He lives to be the publisher. I was going to say this morning, but I tried to keep it under a minute. When God woke up one day, just like in my case, I told the story about, I wasn't going to be an athlete. God said, Kelly Cole is going to be the publisher. So why would I say no to somebody like that? Second thing is the efficiency that I mentioned earlier. What'll happen is, you'll write an outline. That's what you say, right, Kelly? That's what you want your people on the fence to think about. And then within 30 days, depending on what your capabilities is, in my case, I did it. Your group, Keon, in this case, was super helpful from your staff. And basically, I love him. So I've never met him, but I'm just going to tell you, he's fantastic, right? So big picture is that he went through different opportunities of, what could be corrected. And he worked with me. And I'm going to tell you, first of all, I should say this in the beginning. You want a cover that's going to kick butt? Look at all your covers. The design of the cover is off the charts. That helps you. And I think another thing is, my book is like 211 pages, which is right in the zone of what you were saying. A successful book should be between 150 and 200, pages. So what I did was a little different, is that at the end, I wanted to show a lot of gratitude. And then I created a lot of pictures so people could say, if Neal, the fat butt who was fat, now I'm less fat, if I could do that, so if he could do it, so could I. So I wanted to come to life. You helped us do that. So if you're on the fence and you're saying, why is that important to me? Well, listen to one of Kelly's, stories about the 14 different revenue opportunities that this book will create. But the second thing is that you have a story, tell it. And this man and Books for Athletes know how to do it.
Appreciate it, Neal. Where do you want people to reach out to you? Where do you want them to get the book from? Where can they book you to speak and all things like that? Give them all of your contact info.
Okay, so I have a website. It's the199guy.com. So, and you guys helped me set that up, so thank you for that. See, that's another one of the great services of Books for Athletes. Okay. Second thing is, I've noticed that Amazon has a distribution point. So if you go to Amazon Kindle, you can buy the book. right now, Kelly, it's available on paperback. It's available on hardcover. So, this hardcover that I have here also is definitely available. And then I think there's also a special deal for $9.99 on Kindle. If you have a Kindle account. And I think in the next coming months, you'll get my passion, and I'm going to do that audio book that you suggest, Kelly, in your world, and we'll rock it, just like that. But just to get started, Amazon, the 199 guy. As far as booking me, I would say also on my website there's a form that you could fill out to do that. So you can buy the book on there. And if you want me to sign a book, the best way to have me do it is, unless you know me and write me an email, okay, is simply, order the book through the 199 guy, and I'll ship it out. That's what I've been doing the last week since they came out. I love it. It excites me. And I'm starting to get some reaction from people. In fact, I'm going to share this last thing with you because I've had some really good quotes and statements come in. But I had a friend, Kelly, who still is my friend, and he is the former vice president of AT&T Wireless. He's out of North Carolina. So I have a lot of people all over the United States. And he wrote, very cool. I like the presentation also. It is different and informative as to what you're going to read. So early in the book, Bob Bodine had told me that most people, if you don't capture their attention early in the book, they may not read the whole book, right? And I think you might have even shared that. So like my first chapter is the day I die, okay? Because I did, I tell that story. And then another one is small steps for mankind, because my name is Neal, Neal. And when I was younger, there was a very famous Neal, Neil, but I wasn't that Neal, right? So, it was Neil Armstrong, who was the first man to walk in the moon. So, he took giant steps. Thanks to my weight loss and my transformation, I was able to take smaller steps.
That's awesome, Neal. Thank you so much for being on the show today. We look forward to more projects with you, man. Appreciate you. Love you as a brother. Love you as a friend. Let me know if I can do anything for you.
Hey, same there. And let me just close with this, Kelly. Like anything you've taught me and anything that you know and any coach has told you, okay, I'm going to tell you it all starts with your attitude. And attitude's like a flat tire. If you don't fix it, you don't go very far. I had one. I've gone pretty far since I had that flat tire.
That's awesome, man. Can't close it out no better than that. Love you, brother.
Love you.
Have a great day. Listen, thanks so much for checking out this episode of the Books for Athletes podcast. Do me a favor, please like, comment, subscribe, and share this episode. We want to help more athletes tell their story. We want to help more athletes get their story out. So if you could support this podcast, all I need you to do is like, comment, share, and please subscribe to my channel so we can grow on YouTube and start monetizing this channel. All right, if you prefer to listen, we're on all podcast listening platforms as well. Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. Wherever you are, please like, subscribe, comment, and please share this episode with someone.